In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly swept up in the grind of work, financial pressures, the endless stream of information from social media, and the complexities of our relationships. In the midst of it all, we long for a sense of inner peace, a place where stress doesn't overwhelm us and where we're not at the mercy of life's ups and downs. That's why Inner Compass was created, to help people find their way back to that calm, steady place within. It's not a religious channel, but rather a sanctuary for the mind and heart, a space where you can learn to understand yourself, manage your emotions, and create a life filled with purpose and meaning. Have you ever been stuck in bed at night, your mind replaying the same worries and what-ifs on an endless loop? That constant mental replay is called overthinking, the habit of analysing, questioning, and second-guessing so much that it robs us of sleep, drains our energy, and quietly takes away our peace. Overthinking is one of those habits that hides in plain sight. It doesn't announce itself with loud alarms or flashing lights. Instead, it slips quietly into your daily life, blending in so seamlessly that you often don't realise it's there until hours have passed and you're still replaying the same thought. At first glance, it might seem harmless, just thinking a lot. But overthinking is not the same as thoughtful reflection or careful planning. True reflection leads to clarity. Overthinking leads to confusion, self-doubt, and exhaustion. It's like running on a mental treadmill. Your legs are moving, you're burning energy, but you're not actually getting anywhere. In simple terms, overthinking happens when your mind becomes stuck in a loop. You analyse past conversations over and over, looking for hidden meanings or mistakes you might have made. You imagine countless what-if scenarios about the future, playing each one like a mini-movie in your head. You replay decisions you've already made, wondering if you should have chosen differently. Sometimes this loop is triggered by a big life event, a breakup, a job change, a disagreement with a friend. But often it's triggered by something small, a comment someone made in passing, a text they didn't reply to, a meeting that felt slightly awkward. The tricky part is that overthinking often disguises itself as problem solving. You tell yourself, I'm just trying to figure this out, or I want to make sure I get it right. But while real problem solving moves you toward a decision or action, overthinking keeps you stuck in analysis mode. It's like a washing machine, endlessly cycling without draining. The clothes aren't getting any cleaner, and the machine is just wearing itself out. Psychologists point out that overthinking is often rooted in anxiety and a desire for control. When the future feels uncertain, the mind tries to prepare for every possible outcome. This can give a false sense of safety. If you've thought through every scenario, you feel less likely to be blindsided. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much you think, you can't predict every twist and turn. In fact, the more you try, the more you train your brain to live in a constant state of alert. This constant mental hyperactivity has a cost, and it shows up in nearly every area of life. First, it steals your sleep. Overthinking often peaks at night, when the distractions of the day fade and your mind finally has space to wander. You lie in bed, eyes closed, but inside your head the lights are still on and the reels are still playing. You go over conversations you had, things you should have said, things you wish you hadn't said, and future events that haven't even happened yet. Your body is tired, but your mind is still running marathons, and sleep becomes a distant hope. Overthinking also drains your energy during the day. Mental energy is like a battery. It doesn't just power your thoughts, it powers your focus, your decision-making, and your mood. When you use up most of that energy on repetitive, unproductive thinking, there's less left for the things that matter. You might find yourself mentally fatigued by midday, struggling to concentrate on work or enjoy time with friends because your brain feels full before the day is even over. Then there's the emotional toll. Overthinking is closely linked to anxiety because the act of spinning scenarios, especially worst case ones, triggers the body's stress response. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between a real threat and an imagined one. If you vividly picture a job interview going badly, your heart rate can rise, your muscles can tense, and your body releases stress hormones as if you were actually in the room. Over time, this constant activation wears you down, making it easier to feel overwhelmed and harder to recover from everyday stresses. One of the most damaging aspects of overthinking is how it erodes confidence. When you constantly second guess yourself, you send a subtle but powerful message to your brain. I can't trust my own judgment. You might replay decisions you made months or even years ago, wondering if you chose wrong. You might delay making new decisions because you're afraid of choosing incorrectly again. Eventually, you can become paralyzed, stuck in a state known as analysis paralysis, where the fear of making the wrong move keeps you from making any move at all. Overthinking can also strain relationships in ways you might not immediately notice. When you repeatedly dissect what someone said or did, it's easy to assign negative intentions where none exist. A short text reply becomes a sign they're upset. A delayed response becomes evidence they're losing interest. Without realizing it, you start reacting to the story in your head instead of the reality in front of you. This can lead to unnecessary tension, misunderstandings, and even the slow breakdown of trust. There's also the opportunity cost to consider, what you're missing out on while you're lost in thought. Every minute spent tangled in what if and why did I is a minute not spent enjoying the present. You might be physically in a room with your loved ones, but mentally somewhere else entirely. Over time, this pattern can make life feel like it's passing you by. You look back and realize that you weren't fully there for moments that mattered, not because you didn't care, but because your mind was busy trying to control a past that couldn't be changed or a future that hadn't yet arrived. And perhaps the most subtle yet profound impact of overthinking is how it shapes your identity. When you live in a constant state of mental analysis, you start to define yourself by your thoughts. You might even say, "That's just who I am. I think too much." But this isn't true. Overthinking is a habit, not a personality trait. Habits can be unlearned. The danger lies in believing it's permanent, because that belief removes the possibility of change. From a neurological perspective, overthinking strengthens certain neural pathways in the brain, the ones associated with worry and rumination, while weakening others related to creativity, problem solving, and emotional regulation. The more you practice a thought pattern, the more your brain defaults to it. This is why overthinking can feel so automatic. Your brain has literally wired itself to go there. The hopeful side of this truth is that you can rewire it in a different direction, but the first step is seeing the cost clearly. That cost is not just emotional or mental, it's physical too. Chronic overthinking can contribute to tension, headaches, muscle tightness, digestive issues, and even a weakened immune system. The stress hormones released during rumination don't just vanish when you're done thinking. They linger, affecting how your body functions. Over time, this low-grade stress can add up to real health problems. The irony of overthinking is that it often begins with the intention to protect yourself, to prevent mistakes, avoid embarrassment, or prepare for challenges. But instead of protecting you, it slowly chips away at your well-being. It's like carrying an umbrella everywhere just in case it rains, only to realize that the constant weight and inconvenience have been more harmful than the occasional storm you were trying to avoid. In short, overthinking robs you twice. First, by stealing your peace in the present, and second, by wearing down your ability to handle the future when it actually arrives. it's not just a bad habit, it's a way of living that keeps you locked in your head and out of your life. And the longer it goes unchecked, the more it becomes the lens through which you see everything: your work, your relationships, your choices, even yourself. Recognizing the depth of its impact isn't about feeling guilty for doing it. It's about understanding why it's worth changing. When you see overthinking for what it really is, a drain on your energy, a thief of your presence, and a barrier to your happiness, you can finally begin to step out of the loop. And that's where the real work begins, learning not just to think less, but to think better, and to reclaim the moments you've been losing to endless mental reruns. Overthinking doesn't disappear overnight. It's a habit built over years, and like any habit, it can be unlearned with practice. The goal isn't to erase every wandering thought. That's impossible. Instead, it's to learn how to step out of the mental loop and guide your mind back to the present moment, over and over, until it becomes second nature. Here are practical ways to begin. 1. Start with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Most overthinking happens on autopilot, so the first step is simply recognizing when you're doing it. Check in with yourself during the day. Am I actually solving a problem, or am I just replaying it? This question interrupts the cycle and creates a moment of choice. Awareness is like turning on the light in a dark room. The moment you see the pattern, you can decide whether to keep feeding it or let it go. 2. Name the pattern. Psychologists call this labeling. When you notice your mind spinning, give it a name. This is just worry, or this is the replay loop. Naming it helps separate you from the thought, reminding you that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. That small bit of distance weakens their emotional grip and makes them easier to release. 3. Shift your focus to the present. Your brain can't obsess over the past or future while fully engaged in the present. Redirect your attention to something physical. Take a walk and notice the rhythm of your steps. Wash the dishes and feel the water on your hands. Focus on the sounds around you right now. This isn't about distracting yourself. It's about anchoring your mind in reality, where life is actually happening. Schedule for worry time. If your mind insists on chewing over a problem, give it permission, but on your terms. Choose a 10 to 15 minute block each day just for worrying or thinking through problems. Outside of that time, tell yourself, I'll think about it later. Often, by the time your worry time arrives, the urgency has faded, or you see the problem more clearly. Practice breathing for calm. Overthinking often comes with shallow, fast breathing, which signals the body to stay in stress mode. Simple breathing techniques can help. 4-7-8 breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale slowly for 8. Box breathing. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. Just 2 to 3 minutes can slow your heart rate and quiet your mind. 6. Challenge the story. Overthinking thrives on worst case scenarios. When you notice your mind predicting disaster, ask, what else could be true? For example, instead of, they didn't text back because they're upset, you might add, or maybe they're busy, or their phone died. Expanding the possibilities weakens the fear-driven narrative. 7. Write it out. Journaling turns swirling thoughts into something concrete. Once you see them on paper, they lose some of their power. Try this. Write down the exact worry. List what's within your control and what's not. If action is possible, plan it. If not, let it go. This process helps separate real problems from imagined ones. 8. Use gratitude as a reset. The mind can't be deeply grateful and deeply worried at the same time. When overthinking hits, list 3 things you're grateful for right now. They don't have to be big. A warm coffee, the sound of rain, a friend's smile. Gratitude shifts your brain's focus from fear to appreciation. Let go of perfection. Much overthinking comes from the belief that you must make the perfect decision or avoid all mistakes. This is impossible. Accept that imperfection is part of life. Mistakes are teachers, not enemies. When you remove the demand for perfection, you remove much of the fuel overthinking feeds on. 10. Practice mindfulness. Meditation. Mindfulness trains your attention to notice when your mind drifts and gently bring it back. Sit comfortably, focus on your breath or a sound, and when thoughts arise, they will. Acknowledge them and return to your focus point. Over time, you'll find it easier to step out of mental loops during daily life. 11. Reduce overstimulation. Constant notifications and endless scrolling. Keep your mind restless. Create quiet zones in your day. Times with no screens or outside noise. Step outside, sit in silence, or watch the sky. These pauses help reset your mental state. 12. Talk it out. Sometimes sharing your thoughts with a trusted friend or therapist can break the loop. Other people can offer perspective and reassurance that's hard to find alone. Simply saying your thoughts out loud can make them feel less overwhelming. 13. Be patient with the process. Overthinking is a deeply ingrained habit. Some days you'll catch yourself quickly. Other days you'll spiral for a while. That's normal. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you notice and choose a different response, you're rewiring your brain toward peace. 14. Visualize stepping back. Imagine your thoughts as cars on a busy street. Overthinking is like running into traffic, trying to stop each car. Instead, step back onto the sidewalk and watch them pass. You don't need to control every thought, just let them go by. Breaking free from overthinking isn't about thinking less, it's about thinking better. It's about knowing when to engage with your thoughts and when to let them drift away. With practice, you'll find yourself returning to the present more often, feeling lighter, calmer, and more in control of your own mind. And that calm, steady place within you, the one you've been chasing, will no longer feel distant. It will become home. Overthinking may feel like a lifelong companion, but it's not who you are. It's just a habit, and habits can be changed. Every moment you choose to step out of the loop, even for a breath, you're reclaiming a piece of your peace. Don't wait for the perfect time to start. Peace isn't something you find one day, it's something you practice every day in the smallest choices. Tonight, when your mind begins to race, pause, breathe. Remind yourself, I am here right now. Your thoughts don't have to control you. You have the power to direct them, to let them go, and to create space for joy, clarity, and calm. Start today. Your future self will thank you.